Presentation of 67 accepted papers and 17 posters were organized in 6 tracks and 16 sessions overall. Moreover, highlights of the latest research trends towards 6G, as well as about intelligent optical systems for 5G, were given by the renowned keynote speakers from academy and industry, whereas the panels were centered around Open RAN, cybersecurity, and 5G for verticals. We thank all authors for submitting their manuscripts, as well as the track co-chairs and reviewers for their devotion to selecting high-quality contributions. Special thanks go to European Commission, the EuCNC sponsor, to Eurosip and IEEE, as well as to Huawei Technologies, our platinum patron. Finally, I would like to emphasize the hard work of the local organizing committee, consisting of our young colleagues from both Croatia and Portugal. And I cordially thank them for their enthusiasm, even when we realized that this event could not be organized the way we all had planned and gladly expected, but would present very new challenges in the virtual area where we lacked experience of synchronizing various and mutually quite diverse real-time online and offline activities. However, we managed, effectively demonstrating that essentially we have remained engineers and have accepted the challenge, which I believe can justifiably be graded as passed successfully. Now, I'm handing over the word to Dr. Peter Stuckmann, Head of Future Connectivity Systems Unit E.1 of the European Commission, where he manages the Commission's policy on 5G communication systems and the related research and innovation program. Peter, mic is yours.
Thanks a lot, Felipe. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, really happy to have the honor to be part of the closing session. I have been following part of this conference, and I was really impressed what we achieved with this virtual event this year. Just some highlights. I think Filip Vlatko already made most of the points. I was a bit optimistic with 1,000 participants. I see we have now close to 100 still around, which is normal for a closing session. So this is very successful. So many registrations, and we could see all sessions there was critical mass of colleagues following. Yeah, so I don't want to repeat the program highlights too much. We saw very interesting keynotes, very visionary keynotes and panels. And I will go straight away with the main takeaways that we were developing together with the colleagues over the last 2 days of the conference discussions. Yeah, see, of course, 5G is happening. The first versions, there's still work ongoing and further developing it. Many challenges are indeed ahead. We have lots of discussions around cybersecurity and European sovereignty, also if you look at the political landscape. We have, of course, the business cases are important, so cooperation models between telcos, verticals, and all different stakeholders. And we see, of course, important technology trends in hardware, software decoupling, Open RAN, and also synergies between vendors. So these are very important topics, of course, not complete. There are many more. Of course, the crisis that hit us has reminded us on the criticality of these networks. And also we took that up now in the recovery strategy, that indeed 5G will be a main enabler of the recovery, especially as the recovery is really designed forward-looking at European level towards green and digital transformation. So here, of course, 5G investment will be key. And what we also see is, of course, as we also saw now with the last keynote, the visions developed now around 6G, with, of course, on the one hand, new performance, but also some societal challenges that are addressed, like greening different industries by using this technology, but also doing the homework, meaning having more energy efficient approaches to networks. Yeah, so with this in mind, we are, it was already mentioned in the opening presentation and also was discussed, the partnership that we're now developing. Of course, this program that we see this week is really mirroring the activities of the 5G PPP that is ongoing. And now we're entering in a new budget cycle. So we are developing with the new realities that we're seeing around cybersecurity, around sovereignty, these kind of disruptive developments worldwide, a more strategic approach towards smart networks and services. And this will be, of course, important activity. But what, of course, you're mainly interested in, I guess, is just to get also an overview of what's next now from our point of view. What are the funding opportunities? What are the policy initiatives that we can expect? So first, I wanted to show you a bit what is this last wave of projects under the 5G PPP. They, of course, have not presented in the conference today because they're around to be prepared and hopefully signed in September, the first 2 batches. If you look at the roadmap of the 5G PPP, we're now in phase 3 on the right top side, really looking into what we call 5G innovation, so hardware and software innovation, and of course the trials, the trial strategy of the 5G PPP, many projects working on vertical sector trials, and in parallel on the top, of course, already starting with the 5G long-term evolution. That has been always an important element of the overall program. You don't have a stringent roadmap where you just do things step by step. But of course, in parallel, there's always new approaches and new fundamental approaches looked at. And this is, of course, now also happened with the long-term evolution call, but also before or now with the Beyond 5G call. So this is how it looks like. So what is, of course, remarkable, we're talking about the next budgetary period, but the biggest chunk actually per year, if you see it per year, is actually done this year. That's normal. You have always a bit of ramp up with the spending. So we now have 200 million that we are still selecting and launching this year. The first 2 batches you see here, the 30 million call on 5G for connected automated mobility, has been finalized, the evaluation. So now 3 projects have been selected, 1 on the reserve list that we're also trying to fund and preparing. So this is for September, hopefully, or a bit later to sign. And then the same calendar for the 5G core technologies innovation. We also call it hardware innovation with around 50 million. And then, as many of you might have been busy preparing, we have also 2 calls now that are closing this week, and with planned launch in January 2021. That's the software innovation, we call it, so 5G innovations for verticals with third-party services, and then the smart connectivity beyond 5G that also builds a bridge to the new partnership that will be beyond 5G 6G. So just to be aware that a lot is still coming this year and projects will be launched. Good. Then in terms of policy, of course, we more and more compared to maybe recent years, we read 5G as headlines in the press with geopolitical debates. So it's quite exciting, quite interesting. And of course, it's interesting to see what we can expect on the policy agenda. As you know, a new commission has started end of last year, the von der Leyen Commission. And of course, digital is one of the top priorities again. And you can see here just some highlights from the political guidelines of the president, where you especially see, for example, the standard setting is really highlighted. So the sovereignty that Europe can remain standard setter of the global 5G standards. And this is then articulated in sovereignty for critical technologies. The commissioner also announced end of last year that he wants to develop a 6G strategy that we're now working on. And this is, of course, very much related to the partnership on 6G that we're now developing and proposing very soon. Okay, I already mentioned a bit the link to the COVID-19 crisis. So on the one hand, of course, the critical nature of digital services, but also then, of course, the opportunities now with the recovery. So there, on the one hand, if you look at 5G deployment, of course, this is as such, infrastructure projects are always a very welcome initiative for recovery because it has immediate, rapid economic effects, building things. So this is, of course, a good opportunity when looking into these deployment programs that we're launching. I will explain a bit later. And of course, then opportunities for SMEs when we build these 5G ecosystems. So the recovery, 5G will play a major role in the recovery activities. And what was, of course, interesting was also what we see possible, thinking about these tracing apps that are now launched in the member states. In principle, what the fact that everyone has a smartphone, has a mobile device with several communication interfaces can bring. Of course, we were not entirely ready to switch this on in a couple of days. This was developed and thought about in terms of data issues, data protection. So, of course, we have to develop in the future these ecosystems so that we are somehow ready with this. And we can imagine what then will be possible beyond what we're seeing today, also within the 5G world. And yeah, hopefully no waves coming up or further pandemics, but of course, it shows the potential in the area of healthcare and also crisis response. Good, you might know it's already from 2016, just to mention that this is of course still relevant. We have this 5G observatory where we're looking at the progress of the 5G action plan. The deployments should now happen in the next few years until 2025. The target 2025 is very important. We're also planning to review this action plan, and you can expect some updated strategy. We have a couple of new things now, of course, with the crisis. The investment climate has changed, and some spectrum auctions, for example, have been delayed. So we have to review a bit what this effect will be, and not a bit, but of course very much. And as well, the 5G cybersecurity toolbox, which also has an effect on how networks are rolled out in the next years, really making sure that we have a secure 5G ecosystem that meets the requirements of this toolbox that we developed. What is this toolbox about? Just as a reminder, we were called by Parliament and Council at the beginning of last year to have a European approach. You remember discussions also coming from the US, pointing out a number of concerns with regard to high-risk suppliers. And it's of course important in Europe, even if the Commission is not competent on national security issues, that we coordinate this as much as possible. And the member states were really keen on that because it would help keep a common approach in Europe. We came up with the recommendation in March, which sets the framework and the process for this work. And then you might have followed that there was this coordinated risk assessment, a common risk assessment in October, identifying the different parts of the network that are critical, the different risks that are there, vulnerabilities, and then the toolbox itself. It's actually a set of measures that are planned to be taken by the member states to address the risks. So there's a strong link between this risk assessment and the mitigating measures, which makes it quite unique worldwide because it's not purely political. Of course, there are non-technical factors that are taken into account, but overall it's a risk-based approach, and this is very much looked at worldwide and recognized. How does this toolbox look like? So you start with the risk that I mentioned, and then on the left, this is maybe also then an answer for you to understand the key question that all looking into, what about the supply chain? So for example, strategic measure C, we have this item of diversification of suppliers where we have a list indeed in the risk assessment of criteria, how to come to a profile of a high risk supplier, and then adopt measures concerning this supplier and the suppliers. Then what is also important is point D. That is an interesting one. A strategic measure is very related to the work we are doing here and in the future on the partnership to really address also the mid to long-term supply chain, that we have still sustainable supply chain, also some diversity, but also, of course, European capacities. And the partnership will, of course, play a very important role to maintain and even reinforce these capacities. Good. So this is now being implemented by the member states, and we will see hopefully consistent approaches taken in the next few months. Good. And then maybe some outlook to Horizon Europe, if I have still some minutes left. So we have seen the Horizon Europe program already now quite a couple of months being discussed. It has been politically agreed, but still subject to the overall budget agreement. And we also now, in the recovery context, came back with some proposals to reinforce the budget. At the end of the day, was initially proposed. You see in the middle here, this cluster, digital industry in space, is planned for 15 billion, 1.5. And so this, we will see now, of course, some of the areas have been reinforced. If we can make sure that, at least for the digital part, we have a significant part of this budget secured. And this would, of course, very much be in the spirit of the recovery package for a digital transition. Yeah, we see lots of initiatives on 6G. We have seen Matti's presentation yesterday. So Finland is really very well ahead here. We have also other regions worldwide that are starting. So in principle, when you talk to investors and the market, of course, they will say, don't talk about 6G, we want to invest in 5G. So that's very good how the CEO of Nokia put it. It's now the right time to be researching on 6G. So products, of course, not something that is looked at. But these research initiatives are starting now. And we are, of course, also very committed in Europe to drive this agenda. Yeah, you remember the triangle of the 5G. So now this takes some traction, this idea of the hexagon, where we have first 3 dimensions, where the application, so what can you do with it, the management focus, so more how, and then of the societal focus, what are the societal goals. I let you, probably some of you know that. So of course there are a number of performances. We can look into terahertz spectrum. We can think about terabit capacities to have multiple connections of this type. And this will of course be new technology frontiers. On the management side as well, a lot of challenges already also now coming up in some discussions in standardization bodies with first attempts to bring more software into the networks, more cloudification, and then this, the potential of Open RAN. And this has become really also a strategic importance in the context of the supply chain discussions we are having. Yeah, what is also important now that we have programs that is not only on research and innovation, but also some that are on deployment. And here, of course, we talk about 5G deployment. 3 billion have been proposed. Now in the updated proposal, it's actually now 2 billion, following some first discussions in the council. And here we have 3 main elements: the 5G corridors that you might be aware of, the gigabit connectivity, so 5G communities basically, and also some international connectivity, so backbone issues. Good, then the partnership itself, some might be curious that are really looking into the 5G PPP today and what is coming next. From the hexagon that I just presented, we can map it a bit on the scope of activities on Horizon Europe that we can still see remaining and new challenges. So higher capacity, zero-touch networks, spectrum challenges, advanced radio processing, ultra-high security, the energy efficiency challenge that I mentioned at the beginning. So not only these networks as enabler for green ICT, but ICT for green, but also contributing to the green ICT visions and making these infrastructures more energy efficient. Then, of course, the opportunities are clear. We think about this value chain perspective, saying that we see important trends and opportunities building on the connectivity ecosystem where Europe has also strongholds, to see what we can do in service provisioning, for example, thinking about cloud-based service provisioning, IoT, and as well to a next generation of devices, which are going beyond smartphones. As we saw in the previous presentation, we think about wearables, we think about devices like cars, like robots that are connected. So that's not only about the smartphone, this is of course then more diverse opportunities that are coming up also for European industries. And on the right, very important, the deployment aspects that we're also covering in this partnership. And this is the corridors for automated mobility, the smart communities, and as well from the Digital Europe program that you might also know, some synergies that we can look into what is done in artificial intelligence, in cybersecurity, and so on. How can we enable this with smart networks? And we can then also think about common test beds, common initiatives in this area. Good. So just to come back, what I just explained a bit more in detail on this value chain approach. On the left, you see here in the center, the networks perspective, and then the service provisioning coming in related to that, and then the multiplicity of devices that can also bring all kinds of new hardware opportunities or ecosystem opportunities, also thinking about operating systems, for example. And then on the right side, what can be seen as overarching is, of course, the cybersecurity aspects and the energy efficiency aspects. Yeah, the world has changed, as I said before, so it's not only about research and innovation, just simply having a good program that is well interlinked and is consistent and coherent, but we have very many strategic challenges ahead of us, industrial challenges like technology sovereignty, worldwide struggles around the supply chain. So what we need is really a strategic partnership with some more institutional character, where member states, commission and industry can really decide on the way forward when it comes to this kind of strategic agendas. So that's what we're preparing. We're still under discussion. We didn't propose it yet as a formal legislative proposal, but this is in the making. And what is of course key here, that you see the states representatives group that is more, should be more involved, the member states, and really leadership by the industry on equal footing with the Commission in the governing board. Good, that's I think sufficient to show you a bit what are the immediate next steps that we're planning. And I'm really very thankful to all colleagues that prepared this and organized this conference. Also to my colleagues that were really active in getting this program on the rails. And yeah, so looking forward to the discussion of this session.
Thank you very much, Peter, for your presentation and useful information that you have given to us. And now may I call Professor Luis Correa, our steering committee chair, and essentially the main engine and driving force behind the EuCNC, to announce the best paper award. Luis.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, Peter, thank you very much for this talk. I took a lot of notes how to get at least half of the billions you talked about. Thank you very much anyway. Pleasure to see you again. So thank you, Vlatko, for this opportunity. As you said, I'm the chair of the steering committee of the EuCNC and also the chair of the awards committee for EuCNC. So, and as usual, we have 2 paper awards. Unfortunately, this year we don't have the best booth award for obvious reasons, but that's life, let's put it this way. I hope I can share my screen. So, can you see my screen?
Yes.
You can, okay, good. So, sorry, give me a minute then. I need to, sorry. Just logistics here, what's happening? Something is not working. Oh, okay. So, yes, you are sharing my screen, good. So, as I was saying, I'm the chair of the awards committee, the best paper awards. We have usually 2 best paper awards. So one is the full best paper award, let's put it this way. And the other one is the best student paper award. Just as a reminder of the rules, let's put it this way. So we have a committee, the awards committee, that is composed of chairs of the technical program committees of former years. So you see all the names in here that are currently part of the awards committee. We have also the liaisons with IEEE, which is Hikmet Sari, and EuroSIP, which is Bjorn Otterston. And the other thing I would like to say is that we have some rules, let's put it this way. So one is the process. So usually what happens is that track chairs propose in their tracks 2 to 3 papers to the awards committee. And then the awards committee ranks, each member ranks the preference for the best papers. And then of course, I compile all these votes, and that's how we get to the final result. Just to be clear on the rules for conflict of interest, last year the rules were not clear, so we clarified it last year, and they are very clear now. So a paper authored or co-authored by the chair cannot be eligible for any award, which means that my papers are not eligible at all. I mean, that's part of the rules, to keep, of course, conflicts of interest here. And also for the other members of the committee, if in a given year their papers are authored or co-authored by a committee member is recommended, they will not be part of the evaluation. So just to make sure that that is clear for everyone, we keep track of these conflicts of interest so that the process is crystal clear, and we do give the best papers without any conflicts, of course. So having put all of these, I have the pleasure to say that the best paper award goes to the paper entitled Real-Time Experimental Wireless Testbed with Digital Beamforming at 300 gigahertz. It comes from colleagues from Greece and Germany, so Georgian Tuti, Thomas Merkel, Eleftherios Logis, Vasilis Koratsinos, Nikolaos Kentos, and Dimitrios Kritaridis. Sorry for my Greek pronunciation. So they are here. Let me just present the other one, and then I'll greet you in live. Let's put it this way. So the Best Student Paper Award, which is sponsored by EuCNC, since the beginning of EuCNC, I have to say this. It goes to the paper entitled Accurate Narrowband LPWA Ranging, Principles Performance in HWGN and Multipath Channels. So the colleagues are from France, basically from CELETI and the University of Limoges. So Florian Wolf is the student, so he carried the work, so the prize goes mostly to him. And then, of course, his colleagues and supervisors, I can imagine, Sébastien de Rivas, François Demas, Valérien Manoni, Vincent Berg, and Jean-Pierre Cans. So I'll stop sharing now. I think that your guys are here, right? So Georgia, yes, and Dimitrios. So guys, congratulations for these awards.
Thank you very much.
The Best Paper Awards, it's not in the value of the billions that Peter has mentioned, but still it's 1,000 euros. So, and it's sponsored by the Platinum Patron. So you'll be receiving, we'll find a way to transfer 1,000 euros to you guys and to send you a physical diploma for this prize. So congratulations for your work.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We cannot, but at least let's put it this way, I clap on behalf of everyone.
Thank you, thank you.
And then the Student Paper Award, Florian is supposed to be here as well. Can you put your screen, Florian, please, or any of the colleagues from CELETI? No?
So do you hear me?
Yes, Florian.
Very good.
So Florian, congratulations for your Best Paper Award. I hope, I'm not sure if you graduated already or if you're about to graduate.
I graduated last week, so now I'm not a student anymore.
Okay. No, but you were a student when you submitted the paper. That's what counts.
Exactly.
So you'll be receiving also a check of 500 euros, which is sponsored by EuCNC, as I said, and also this diploma. So we'll find a way, we'll contact you, and we'll find a way to give you this prize. So congratulations again.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'm really happy to have this work recognized by the research community. It's really a nice appreciation. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. So I finished my role here, but let me just thank Vlatko and his team, together with Philippe, for the wonderful job of organizing this virtual, unfortunately not physical, conference in Dubrovnik. We were all aiming at sitting in the Iron Throne. Unfortunately, we have a virtual throne to sit in, but that's life. So next year, hopefully we'll be back to this physical way of greeting colleagues and handing physical stuff. Vlatko and his team, thank you very much for organizing this. The floor is yours,
Vlatko, for these nice words. And on behalf of my team and Philippe as well, and all of us involved, everybody gave his best, including yourself, of course. You are the coach and of the whole train, and it took a lot of energy out of you to streamline all the things that are the part of the EuCNC heritage, and that actually we, taking over for the first time, we couldn't know. But I'm glad that everything is going to converge this successful way, and hope it will be even better physically, in reality in Porto. Thank you, Luis. So as we are about to close, let me lower the EuCNC flag, please. The guy lowering the flag, actually handing it over, looks a little bit sad. So, for doing so, am I right? So, it was supposed to arrive by post long ago to Porto, but the express post latency seemed to be much higher than we've been talking about. We've been all about talking about latency and all other technical terms, starting with even real life things that even these performance for technical data would not be enough with 6G in prospective view. So, well, the life must go on. And finally, I'm calling Professor Manuel Ricardo, the TPC chair of the EuCNC 2021, to take over the word.
Okay, thank you, Vlatko. I hope you can see my slides. Can you?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much for your virtual flag. It will be a pleasure to hoist the physical one in Porto. Before I start presenting the Porto edition, let me present myself. My name is Manuel Ricardo. I'm a professor from Porto University, where I teach telecommunication courses, and also director of the INESCTEC Research Institute. And I will be TPC chair of the next edition of EuCNC that, as you can understand, will happen in Porto, Portugal, in June next year from 8 to 11. So some of you may already know Porto. Porto is an old and very nice city located in north of Portugal. It is an Atlantic Sea city. And you can get to Porto by plane, of course. There are direct flights from multiple cities in Europe, but also from cities outside, from important cities outside Europe. The airport is very well located, 15 kilometers from city center and easily accessible. The next year event will be held or hosted on the Conference Center Alfândega do Porto, which is a large and historical building, very well known in the city and in Portugal. It has all conditions for receiving a physical event such as this one. and it has already been awarded several times as the Europe's best meetings and conference center. The Congress Center is itself very well located, so 20 minutes by car from the airport, 5 minutes walking distance from city center, and also close to the train station. Facilities that I hope you can have the opportunity to meet and to be there are also good. To big auditoriums, large number of conference rooms with good qualities, a large exhibition area, but also because conference center is located near the river, it offers us, let me say, an excellent opportunity to take advantage of sea departing and taking advantage of the river. For instance, we can take this as an opportunity to taste the famous port wine that are located on the other side of the river. We may also have the opportunity to meet some important buildings and nice buildings in Porto, such as this one, Palácio da Bolsa. And going to more technical aspects, I'd say that the conference will focus, of course, on the next generations of communication systems and networks. We are going certainly to address 6G. The information about the conference is already available in the proceedings and in the website. And from this announcement, I would underline the key dates, and particularly the first one, 29th of January, which will be deadline for submission of papers for regular oral sessions, but also for proposals for workshops, special sessions, and tutorials. Please register this date, because we are looking to see you in Porto. Let me now show you some images about Porto. So, and that's it. So we hope that we can submit papers and meet us in Porto on the next June of next year. Thank you very much. Vlatko, I return to you the conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manuel. We all wish you good luck, of course, to you and to your team with the 30th edition of the EuCNC in Porto. I hope that you all have enjoyed the EuCNC 2020 that we are closing now, and that we will meet live next year in Porto. On behalf of the whole EuCNC team, warm goodbye from Dubrovnik.
Goodbye. See you next year.
Hope so.
Thank you and goodbye. And I will come to Dubrovnik one day.
You're very welcome.
And then also to Porto, maybe next year to the conference. We will see.
You're very welcome anytime.